Welcome to Home's Room. Just like Homeroom, we start off our day getting together with our homies, swapping stories, even a little kiss and tell action. This podcast contains language not suitable for younger listeners, topics about sex and mental health. Discretion is advised. Our views are our own. Let class begin.
Welcome back. I got another interview today, and I'm really excited about this one because, I kind of bring the humor, but I think they're really going to bring the humor. And as I've never had this position before, instead of introducing the guest, I'm going to let the guest introduce the episode. So, with no further ado, take it away, friend.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessa. I am a comedian and improviser in Kansas City. I am very excited to be here today. I know my sense of humor is very weird, kind of goofy. Most people think I'm a little bit insane, but I love it. And I hope we have some good conversation about humor, specifically in our area.
Perfect. So yeah, welcome. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you like a lot of people when I reach out with like a cold invite usually are like, am I like good enough or am I like worthy of doing an interview? So like when I did it, I was like super hesitant to be like, man, I don't want to be like, hey, so if you wanna like I was like, I'm just gonna go after it. And you were like, yeah, okay. And I was super
Oh, hell
blown away
yeah.
by that.
Well, I was very excited, to be honest. I feel like this podcast is a really cool concept. And I feel like I've had a very interesting journey into comedy. I'm someone who is like, in general, not very confident, but comedy like requires you to have confidence. But it's something that like it's forced me to like put myself out there in a way that I never had before, and I've found a lot of acceptance in that. And so that's been pretty cool to
Yeah,
experience. Yeah, I was very grateful for you to reach out because I think this is a really cool concept.
good. I'm glad. I always kind of like we made the joke a little bit ago that was like, we're a cure for imposter syndrome because people we do our research, we start asking questions and we ask like insightful questions and and when we turn the person, the guest, the whatever around on themselves, and then they're like, oh, I did say that, or oh, I do that, or oh, that is a thing that I'm good at. And then they start to have to process to themselves, like, oh, yeah, this is a thing. This is how it goes. And then they realize, you know what? I needed this. And I can honestly say, more often than not, we end a recording and somebody goes, I needed this. I was feeling really low and now I'm really jazzed.
Yeah.
And I think that it's
Mhm.
cool that you're doing this. And so hopefully you have that same feeling. But
I feel like I
to get to
will.
what we're
It's
here.
it's sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say to get to what we're talking about because like we can just jump into it. Comedian, improviser, sketch writer. What's the difference, and how do you I guess navigate the space? Like what are the things that you primarily enjoy?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I would say I started my journey into comedy with improv. I think comedy is just an overall term of what people do in Kansas City. There's so many different types of comedy that you can do. I've learned opportunities that I never thought existed as options. But for me, improv was kind of how I started, and it was around when COVID was happening, when I guess it was after kind of everyone was, you know, quarantining for the most part and staying away from people. And when I was younger, I had really, really bad social anxiety. And I've kind of battled it my whole life. And during COVID, I started kind of getting in my head a lot about um, being a little bit self-conscious about my ability to interact with people and like make friends. And I moved to Kansas City and I just felt like I couldn't find my place here. Um, and I was having trouble like putting myself out there and meeting people. And so I decided to take an improv class, and that was something that was really outside my comfort zone. And I was like, I really don't know what I was getting into here, but I'm going to try it and just see what happens. And who I met were a lot of people who were kind of in the same boat as me. They were just trying to like put themselves out there and meet people and do something that's fun and goofy with people that they liked, you know? And for a long, long time, I just took all the improv classes. I was doing anything improv related that I could, but I was hardly ever performing in front of people because really what my goal was to kind of get out of my shell, and it really, really helped me. And I hope that anyone listening to this podcast, if you have any desire whatsoever to try something like this, just go for it because it is nerve-wracking and it is vulnerable, to be honest. Like, my comedy is sometimes not everyone's cup of tea, which I think everyone has that issue. You're gonna have things that you find funny that other people don't. And that can be very intimidating because you just don't know
Yeah.
what people are gonna like and not like. Um, and I think for a long time I was trying really hard to um, fit what other people thought was funny. And so that was something that was, as I've gone through this journey, I've learned it's just like people will accept you for you. It might not be everyone, but like just do the humor that you find funny. And so it's just been a whole journey. So yeah, I started out with improv. Now recently I've gotten into sketch comedy. I took a sketch comedy class, and that's more along the lines of what you would see on like Saturday Night Live. And so it's writing and memorizing. It has acting involved as well. Um, but that's something, it's been kind of like a little bit different for me because I'm not used to memorizing lines or preparing a lot beforehand. Improv's kind of nice because you are like, you can have a show and you do no preparation beforehand. You just go out there and whatever you say is what it is, you know? So recently I've gotten into sketch comedy. I am slowly dipping my toe into sketch or into stand up as well. So that's another area of Kansas City. And there is a lot of overlap. There are people who do stand up who also do improv and sketch. So it's nice that I've already kind of know the stand up community, a lot of them. Um, but it is a very different type of humor as well. So with sketch, you're on stage with other actors who are performing with you in different scenes, whereas stand up, you're on stage by yourself, just performing. And that to me feels the most vulnerable because it's only you, you know?
Yeah.
So that's something I'm kind of headed towards right now as well.
Yeah. I think, when it comes to like comedy, and I'm drawing a lot of parallels, like just your explanation, I'm like drawing a lot of parallels between that and like what I do. And I know that like for me, like I don't like doing solo episodes. Solo episodes make because it's like, I don't know, is this landing? Is this right? Do I just sound like I'm babbling? And I wonder if, does it feel that same way when you're doing like stand up where it's like it's harder to judge because you don't have anything to like there's no backstop, I guess is what I'd say.
Yeah, I just actually last Wednesday I did my friend puts on this event called This Might Hurt a Little, and it's a uh event where everyone writes a letter that they would never send, and it can be both heartfelt and sweet but also funny. Some of It was probably like a pretty even split of like people who were funny and people who were more like serious and deep with their letters, you know. Um but I did just a purely funny letter. It had no wholesomeness to it. It was just funny. Um, but I had personally quite the journey with that because I just was unsure if the audience was going to receive it well, if people would understand my type of humor in particular. And this one was a little bit more, I was kind of pushing what I had done in the past, in terms of like my comfort zone a little bit. And anyways, it turned out it was a large audience and it was really well received by people. So that was just a relief because I had been really overthinking everything. And I realized when you're doing something like that on your own, it's really easy to overthink things and just tell yourself you're not good enough, what you were saying earlier with the imposter syndrome thing. It's just like I'll have times where I'm just like in my head being like, you're you can't do comedy. What are you doing? Like this is not, you're not funny. And I realized after a lot of performing that that is just me being my own worst enemy. And when I truly can
Yeah.
get out of my head, those are when the most special moments happen, you know, with comedy.
Yeah.
So,
I love that. So like the thought of being funny or getting involved in things and finding that connection, I think has to be like kind of a part of you in some way. Like you have to think you're on some level funny. So I was going to ask how long you've been doing this, but you've already kind of answered that. So how long have you been funny, friend?
well, I've always been a little bit of a weird, like as a child, I was a very weird kid. I had a really out there, crazy sense of humor. And I was always kind of, my friends would call me like a daredevil because I was always like going out and trying to do wild things. Like I used to ride, my friends had like a miniature pony who was like, he would buck all the time. And I would just like, I thought I was like a rodeo girl. And so I just would get on that mini pony and get bucked off. And so I was just like, I was a wild child and I had all of this like love for just doing things that were out there and fun and being goofy and just like playing around with my friends. And I was just always the one who would just like completely go off the rails with trying to be funny. If I could do it for a joke, I would do it, you know? Um, and I lost a lot of that as I got older. I really, really cared what people thought about me. And so that like suppressed my humor quite a bit. Like I was just like, okay, I just want people to like me, so I'm not going to allow them to see my sense of humor. And so honestly, once I would say that most people wouldn't have described me as like a funny person prior to taking the improv classes. But I knew it was in me. I hadn't accessed it in so long. And once I got comfortable just being trying to be funny, or not even trying, just allowing myself to be funny, it really brought out a part of me that had been suppressed for so long, and it felt like such a freeing feeling. Like it was just like, oh, there's a goofy girl inside of me, and she's just waiting to come out, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, I do know. Um,
Hmm.
Behind the scenes, we know each other through Derby. Yes, this is another one of my Derby friends. And I had been away for a while, and you were part of the new crowd when I came back. And
Yeah.
I didn't really know a ton about you, but you left a lasting impression. And I still have on my iPad right now,
Uh,
inside of that case that has my notes that I'm reading for this episode, the cutout of that letter from your
that
thumbs up.
makes me so happy.
Uh, so you were like going into the draft, and
Hmm.
I don't know, I can't remember. You'd have to, I guess, answer whether it was because you weren't going to be there or just because you were like something. There was a reason why you did it, but you wrote a
Yeah.
note and had a cropped in photo of you doing like the thumbs up in your derby gear and or double thumbs up, and that was like one of the most like I like impression leaving thing like that
Oh,
anybody could
yeah.
do. Like a lot of people have done notes and things like that or letters because they can't be there, and that's
Yeah.
fine, but like it doesn't tell me anything about you, and it doesn't tell
Yeah.
me what you're like. You could say I love you the most and you're the best team and I want to play for you, but like ultimately I don't know what that actually means because I assume that you gave the exact same carbon copied letter to like everybody.
Hmm.
There's no personal touch to that. And then
Hmm.
yours had the personal touch, and it immediately was like, I like this person. There, that's yep, that's a good one.
Thank you. I don't know. I feel like for me to fit in to a place, people have to truly understand my personality and that like I I can kind of get into the competitiveness of roller derby, but I also truly do not take things seriously a lot, in that I love to find the humor in serious things. To me, when people are taking things extremely seriously, I have a very hard time not just kind of being sarcastic and making jokes about it. And I know there's a time and place, but my family in general were very much people who we cope with things with humor. So sometimes it's at points where people are like, why are you making jokes right now? But it's like, I don't know. I can't. Sometimes it's like, this is kind of funny. When I'm playing roller derby, I have to find the humor because my nickname growing up was Crash because I would just injure myself all the time. That was kind of the daredevil thing, is I was just always injuring myself. And I've now broke both shoulders on different unrelated
Ouch.
derby things. And I tell everyone, my mom, my therapist, and my boss have all said, like, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, I don't really know, but honestly, it's kind of just fun. I'm like, listen, sometimes you got to do the unexpected thing in life. And I think most people really never saw me as either a comedian or someone who plays roller derby. And I love surprising people. One thing just about my humor that I find, I'm kind of like trying to figure out how I could describe myself in terms of my sense of humor. And one thing I really love is I think I surprise audiences a lot by what comes out of my mouth. People see me and they think that I'm going to be pretty normal humor style. And I will say like the most unhinged shit. And people are like, what the fuck just came out of that girl's mouth? She does not look like someone who would say something like that. And so the surprise laughter is my favorite type of laughter, is when people just have no expectations of you. And then you go out there and you just are like blowing them away, and that you are saying things that are way different than they would ever think you would say. So anyways, that's kind of, roller derby has helped me of just like, you don't always have to like be the cookie cutter type of person who would do, because I feel like with roller derby, there's a lot of people who are just very competitive. They live and breathe sports. And I'm not that person, but I've learned that that's okay. There's a place for me in roller derby. And same with
Yeah.
comedy. You don't have to be the stereotypical white man comedy. No, just to be honest with you, there's a lot of white men who do comedy who have a very standard sense of humor. And there's a place for people who have different styles of humor within the comedy world, specifically in Kansas City. I do feel like Kansas City does a really good job of like giving space for people who have different sense of humor to thrive,
Yeah.
you know?
I think that like that's a good point out for Kansas City, because one of the things that I've heard a lot, and like I've done a lot of interviews with a lot of different, like, I don't want to call it like the entertainment industry, but people who have acted or people who do movies, and then musicians, and now you, and the underlying thing that I've heard is like that, like I'll call it the arts, I guess, community in Kansas City is really good at a lot of things, and it will, I don't want to say in like a negative way, but if you're not actually for it, it'll kind of like weed you out pretty quick. But if you're
Hmm.
actually about it, it's immediately like it'll make you better. You'll find people
Hmm.
that like you'll network with and you'll help with, and you can go from there
Hmm.
and find all of these things that like help you out, and things that like make you realize, oh dang, I can do this, or oh dang, this person embodies the same kind of thing, and I'm different than that, but we're both here doing the right thing. And that's, to me, I think it's beautiful. And the fact that like Kansas City has been kind of showcasing itself a lot recently in a lot of different ways in its community, to like not just us locally, but also like to the world after the World Cup. And people are like, man, Lawrence is amazing. They welcome this town. Man, Kansas City showed up for these people. And I think it's
Yeah.
just awesome how it's shown through.
Yeah, I feel like I totally agree with you on that. I truly love Kansas City because the opportunities are there if you want them. Like I truly think if you keep an open mind and just and also you can build your own opportunities here. There's Casey Fringe Festival, which is it's um it's actually worldwide. There's different like cities and different countries that put on their own Fringe Festival. And I went to 5 different shows for Fringe, and it can be different. There's comedy shows, you could have magicians, there's acrobatics, there's all kinds of shows at different venues around Kansas City. And I was really amazed by the talent, but also the creativity in our city. It's just people will see an opportunity and they'll seize it without overthinking it. And I just saw some really unique shows that I was like, I can't believe that there is a space for this in our city, but there are people who will come watch shows that might be completely out there concept, but if you just put it out there, people will come support it because I think our city in particular, people are craving uniqueness and they're craving something that's not the status quo. And so have just, I've been really thinking on that recently because I'm like, what opportunities can I make for myself in the future, or what do I need to look out for in the future as opportunities for me to like thrive in Kansas City in the comedy community? So I'm way over scheduling myself right now, but I'm also trying to add more to my schedule. But I think this is more of a long-term thought of like, yeah, what opportunities are there?
Yeah, I think that's a good segue into like my next question, which like from looking to the future and how far you've come and how far you can go, I want to look back for a second and what was the hardest thing before taking the leap into this journey? Like before you decided, like I'm doing this, and then you got into it, and then that all of that is hard, and all of that is a learning curve. That's cool, but like before you got it, if anybody was thinking about like jumping into improv or comedy in any way or anything for that matter, like what are the things that they might that you encountered that was like a hard thing you didn't expect in jumping in?
Yeah, so I have a few examples of this. The first was just signing up for my first class I was putting it off for so long. And I knew that it was something I wanted to do, but I was so intimidated because I was like, I just don't know what to expect with this. And I didn't know if I could do it, to be honest with you. And I have a twin sister and we know each other. We just know what we need, and I think we can read when we're going through things. And to be honest, when I first moved to Kansas City, I had a long time where I was just like literally not doing much. I was not putting myself out there in any way, and I was just too nervous to like try anything. And my twin sister, she called me and she said, if you don't sign up for an improv class, I'm calling and signing you up. And so I was like, okay, fine. So I finally did it and I took the leap. And I'm so happy I did. I truly think that our our own worst enemies are our own brains sometimes. And I've learned that so many times through so many different things. It is so intimidating to take that first step. But if you can do it, you have to understand, even if you fail at it, at least you tried, you know? Like I can say that sitting here today, had I never tried it, I don't know where I would be right now, but I am so incredibly happy getting to do this. Like, I realized that this is my passion. And if I wouldn't have taken that first step, I would never have come to that realization. So I really encourage people. I know things like improv or stand up or sketch can be really intimidating to get started, but just go for it and understand that you might fail along the way. The the story that I was going to tell is when I very, very first started comedy, I was taking an improv class, and there were 2 guys who traveled to Kansas City who were a part of Second City, which is the big improv theater in Chicago where like Steve Carell, Amy Poehler, like all the greats in comedy came out of that improv theater. And I decided to sign up for their workshop, having only started improv like a couple months before that. And I learned very quickly taking the workshop that I had no idea what they were talking about. I was the least experienced in the workshop. I was like, I don't know why they allowed me to sign up for this, but it's like they are speaking a different language right now because I have no idea what's being talked about. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go for it and see what happens. Well, I got up on stage and I what happened was literally I completely blanked and I just stood up there in silence for a long time. And that was kind of my low moment of comedy where I was like, I think I'm gonna stop doing this. Like I don't think this is for me. That I had the moment everyone fears, which is being on stage and having nothing to say and just being standing there in awkward silence. And I was like, I'm gonna quit comedy. I'm not gonna do this anymore. But I think, the analogy I think of is like when you like get up, bucked off a horse, you're supposed to get back on because otherwise
Hmm.
it teaches them that they can buck you off. Um, and you'll stop. So with this situation, I was like, I can either stop and teach myself that when I fail, that I just will stop at something, or I can get back at it and keep trying and teach myself that you can do it. You're gonna go through failures, but have to keep going. And so that's what I kind of learned through that situation. And I think everyone should understand you're gonna have low points, you're gonna have part points, especially if you get into comedy where you have four people in the audience and it's awkward and it is not so fun. But just if you're having fun, then it's worth it. And that's what I've had to like learn is like I had an audience of four people. That was my most fun show I've ever done.
Yeah.
And it was awkward because there was only four people, but my God, the four people had a great time. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think uh, deciding if you succeed or failed by what other people see or think of you is not a way to do it. You have to decide if you succeeded yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know if that
I'm
makes
again.
sense.
I'm drawing a lot of parallels in what you do and what I do on the show. And for us, like I don't want to say burnt out, but I was just like I hit a low, and we stopped recording, stopped doing all that stuff, and I took a break. And then I got the itch to record again and did some stuff, and now I'm trying to figure out what it looks like to do now because I just enjoy doing this too much and enjoy having the conversations. And whether 5 people listen or 500,000 people listen, it's still the same. It's
Hmm.
about enjoying what I do and enjoying how, like, at the end of the day, like I said, my favorite thing is when a guest is done and they're like, I've been on a lot of podcasts, but this was like by far my favorite. It just felt so natural immediately. It just felt so good. Like I don't know how to describe it. And it's like that's how I know I did good. Like I talk about at the end of some recordings, especially with a guest I like cold offered, and like it was awkward and I didn't know how it was going to turn out, and they don't know me and I did a ton of research on them, so I like, is it going to seem like I'm a stalker? And then those ones that I get off and I like pump my fist like, yeah, good job, that was amazing. Those ones are really fun, but it's the ones where like the guest leaves feeling more inspired because hopefully those 4 people that are listening, those 4 people in the audience also got that connection, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
The joke hit, or the episode landed, the interview question made somebody think and reflect. And at the end of the day, I'm glad that I'm back recording because I just, like you said, I enjoy it, and
Mhm.
it's become a passion that I never expected to enjoy so much, and it's put me in positions. But like you said, there's always kind of room to grow, and like realizing, oh my gosh, these people are speaking a different language. Like I don't do a lot of guest spots on other podcasts, which is something I kind of need to do more because I realize how bad of a guest I am. I'm not a bad like host, and that's fun, but I'm not a great guest, and that's a thing that like I want to try and challenge myself to work towards. So, when it comes to, things for you, what are some of your like favorite moments that like made you feel that like, oh, I did a good job, or oh, I like pump my fist moment or something?
I think for me, there's been several shows where I was kind of trying something that I never tried. I did a show where it was rap improv.
Yeah.
And I was the Kansas City representation with the owner of the KC Improv Company. So it's just me and him from Kansas City. And then there was a guy from New York City who does rap improv for a living, which sounds insane, but also he was really cool. He was a really cool guy. Um, and then we had people from Omaha who also came in to do the show. And I went into it having, I'm not someone who ever tries rapping. Like that's just, I have never tried it. And so I was like, I'm going in front of an audience when I have literally don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And I'm just gonna sink or swim. And I had literally the best time. Like I still keep in touch with some of those guys, and it was just like the most fun. And I did a pretty good job. I wouldn't say I have, a career in that, but at the same time, I didn't do bad. I was like, I felt pretty good about it. But at the same time, I do think with improv and sketch specifically, uh, we are always talking about having each other's backs, because you're on a team. So it is like similar with roller derby, you're so reliant on each person out there. It's not just you. And so that's something I really like is that you are feeding off each other's energy. You're also using each other when you're struggling. Someone's coming in to help you. If you see someone else struggling, you're coming in to help them. And it's cool. We always, before we go on stage, pat each other on the back and say, "I got your back." And I think that's an
I
important
love that.
part of comedy is which with stand up you have to have your own back, which is a whole other like thing. But I like the team aspect of it where you're in there together, and if your team is with you, then you're gonna shine, It's if you have everyone together, you're gonna shine. And so anyways, it's a cool experience, but yeah, I think that just that situation, and then I've also had with my sketch team, um, just a shameless plug if you guys ever want to see a sketch team perform. My sketch team is called Reckless Intent, and we perform at the Bird. I had to ask them right before this if I could say this, but we're going to be the Bird's house team sketch team. So we'll be
That's
performing
awesome.
every month at the Bird Comedy Theater. You can come see us there. If you follow the Bird on Facebook, you can hear about all the upcoming shows and things like that. Um, but for that sketch team, it's six of us coming together, and most of us have never performed together before. I'm kind of the newest person to come into the Bird Comedy Theater, and so there was a lot of people I didn't know and had never been on stage with before. And so that's intimidating. I haven't had as much sketch background as a lot of the other people on my team, but it's really been a blending of different humors that has been just such a beautiful thing to come from that, which is that I think we all kind of take each other's humor style and incorporate it into our sketches. And it really makes something weird and funny and unexpected and just fun. And I think we're having fun on stage and people can tell that. I think that's a big part of comedy is if you seem like you're not having fun, the audience is not going to have fun with you. The biggest thing is if you can get up there and have a great time, at the very minimum, the audience is going to feel that energy and they're going to enjoy it. So,
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. That's one of those things that like I I think it goes for like any level of entertainment, anything is if you're not having fun, then like they can, if for whatever reason, no matter what it is, they can tell that it's not fun. So they're not having fun. And that's one of the things that like interviews that like don't land for me or episodes that don't land for me, I'm so nervous about releasing just simply because like I know how I felt, so like hopefully somebody, I mean, I'm still gonna put it out there, but we don't know how it's gonna play. So like
yeah.
I'm I'm very much in support of like that you have a team and that you guys, say like, oh, I got your back before you go, because at the end of the day, I think that's the part that makes it fun. And humans as per nature kind of are just looking for connection. So
Yeah.
feeling that in the moment, you know, it might be different than, you know, thousands of years ago where people huddled around a fire and told stories, but at the same time, its experience can be traced back to that. So, you know, what you do is like a tale as old as time, basically, you know, where without laughter, without, you know, camaraderie, without storytelling, like people wouldn't be people. So I love that. I think that's, you know, pretty awesome. We're at like that 35-ish minute mark, and I wanted to make sure to get this in because you made a specific note saying you would love to talk about it. So I put it in the middle of my notes so that I couldn't skip past it and put it at the end. But the Marion McLean
McClellan.
McClellan, yeah.
Yes. She's got a hard
Improv.
last
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that and why you're so passionate about it?
Yeah, so she started Improv Springboard, which I highly recommend if you're a woman or non-binary person who is interested at all in getting involved in improv. I would go get on Facebook or social media like Improv Springboard and get involved with them. So what they do is they do both performances and workshops specifically for women and non-binary people. And they bring in people from across the country who have comedy experience who can teach their workshops, or locally, people who have improv experience can teach their workshops as well. They had a fringe show, um, and it was hilarious. And it was all women and non-binary people, and it was a musical actually. So musical improv, it's a musical that is made up on the spot, and they did an incredible job. But Marion has a passion for supporting women in comedy, and I also have that same passion. I think women can bring such unique and beautiful humor to Kansas City. And I have seen some of the funniest women comedians that just inspire me so much. And so she's made a space for women and non-binary people who want to feel comfortable coming together. And it is always like a lot of amazing humor, but always a lot of like camaraderie and friendship, and it's just a beautiful thing. And she saw, you know, she comes from like an engineering background, but she saw this like um gap where there wasn't a space to do that. And she filled that with this improv springboard, and there's just been so many amazing things come from that. So I do think everyone should get involved in comedy, no matter who you are. I truly believe if you have a passion for humor in any way, or you are like, dang, my friends think I'm funny, try out comedy. You can try out an open mic night for stand up. A lot of improv theaters have drop ins where you can just go for one time, pay like $15 to $20, and you get to try it out for one day. Those are so fun. Like, I will go to those still because I'm like, they're so much fun. Like, everyone is
Yeah.
just having a blast. And so there's like easy ways where you don't have to be incredible at it. Just try it, you know? And like I said earlier, you know, taking that first step is what's so hard. But um it's nice that Kansas City has opportunities for women specifically, because I do think sometimes it's hard for women to put themselves out there in that way, because a lot of times we've been told that we aren't as funny. And so having an opportunity to be with other women and like foster um, our senses of humor is just really nice. Also, one last thing to plug, which it's on my phone. Oh shoot, it just disappeared. It's a ladies workshop. It's through KC Comedy Hub. That's another social media account that I would follow if you're interested in comedy at all. They are doing a um, ladies improv and stand up workshop on the 29th of August, which I believe is a Saturday. Let me make sure I got my date right. Yes, 29th of August. And it is a very low pressure way to try out improv or try out stand up. I'm going to do stand up there the next one. But yeah, it's a great opportunity if you're interested. as well. Also, Casey Comedy Hub will be hosting um, a sketch jam on the 30th of August, and that's my team, Reckless Intent, will be hosting that jam as well.
That's awesome. Hopefully we'll get this out by then. I'm trying to
Okay.
do math in my head on the fly. So one thing that we do, and I always say it, like, I don't know if you had time to like look through any of our episodes or listen to anything, but in the summer we were doing a Boss Babe series, and what that was like supporting women in all facets, like no matter what they do. And they got, special graphics that were released with their episode. They get introduced or, monikered, I guess, as a Boss Babe for the episode. And when I scheduled this one, I was like, I mean, it falls in line, but I don't know if I'm going to do the series. I don't know if since it's a completely different format, I wasn't sure how I wanted to handle that. And then I saw that note and I was like,
Mhm.
Jessa's definitely getting the Boss Babe treatment. So
Hell
thank
yeah, I'm
you
so
for
excited.
being
Thank
a
you.
Boss Babe. Supporting women and
Love
supporting
that.
culture more than anything else is
Hmm.
super important.
Hmm.
I'm a girl dad, so
Yeah,
for me, I have no choice but to make sure that like I champion women and I champion anything that my daughters want to do. And some
yes.
people might, look at me and be like, well, rah, rah, rah. But like legitimately, I have two little girls looking up to me, and if I don't support women in every way I can, that just gives them an excuse to think that that's how it's supposed to be. And that's not how it's
Yeah,
supposed to be. So I will absolutely not subscribe to that thinking and support women in every way I can, because that's what makes sense. So like I said,
love that.
Boss Babe Jessa, thank you for joining us,
Yeah.
because you're going to be a boss babe. Um, and then to continue, I love everything that you just said, and you kind of gave some shout outs. So people might be starting out, some people might be like, oh, you know what, let's go to a comedy show. I'm curious, what's something that you learned about, comedy or the culture or the crowds or any of the atmosphere that you wish was more common knowledge going
Mhm.
in that like isn't?
I would say, for me, I think what you have to understand is that people in the comedy world want you to succeed. I always expected more competition than what there is. I was expecting people to hope that I failed because they wanted a place for themselves. But one thing I would really encourage people to understand going into comedy is that there is a place for you. No matter what your sense of humor is, no matter what your background is, no matter what you've been through in life, there is a place for you if you want it. And so I really, really encourage people who uh, have always enjoyed humor or appreciated comedy in some way to just try it and see. Because I think the comedy community is better off having diverse voices than just one type of person who is doing comedy. And so if you feel like you're going into it and there's no one like you, trust me, there's going to be someone who um, you end up meeting who aligns with you. So just give it a try. The comedy community has so many different opportunities, so many different types of people. There is a space for you there. Just give it a
Yeah.
try. Don't give up after the first time you try it. It's gonna feel like you want to, but keep going. You can try other opportunities, but try and keep going.
Perfect advice. Um, again, I don't know if you had a chance to listen, but at the end of episodes, when I do interviews, we do or this or that. Normally, I prep the guest prior to the episode recording and let them know at the end I do a this or that, so they know to kind of expect it. You're an improv person, so I did not prep you,
Hell
so
yeah.
you didn't know this was coming necessarily. So I got some this or
Yeah.
that's. They are kind of thinkers, I guess, but mostly like to see where you're at. So feel
Okay.
free to answer it however you want to answer it. First thing that comes to your mind. If you got a story on why you're choosing that answer, all you. So
Love
first
it.
one,
Feels
are
like
you
improv.
ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Go for
All
it.
right. a complete digital improv. So I'm saying like it's just you and a camera, no audience anywhere. They filter in the whatever the improv directions are through like a chat bot. So they give you a completely generic voice, so you can't even tell if it's who's suggesting it, what's suggesting it. Just you in a room with a camera, or
Okay.
only doing shows for kids for a year.
Oh God, I think it would have to be the first one, only because first off, I am not always so full disclosure, this is the first podcast I've ever done. So I was
Yeah.
a little bit nervous because I'm like, I am much more like if I have to watch myself back when I've done improv, I'm like, oh God, is that what I really look like? Like I get self-conscious. But but I will say my I cuss a lot when I'm doing improv. I do not I have a really hard time. I love children, but I used to do like a 5:30 it was called like the family show or something like that. Where it was improv for kids. And
Yeah.
I loved it. But I had to prep beforehand to be like, literally don't bring up anything inappropriate or use language because these are children that you're doing improv to. I think it might be hard for me to go a whole year with just being completely clean with my improv, but
I love it.
yeah.
I kind of figured that's what you would say, only because I know you just enough. But also, like, I don't know that I could do it for a year. Like if I only had to do like kid appropriate episodes for a
Yeah.
year, I would die.
Yeah. I gotta say, I do love kids, but it would be a challenge just based on my humor.
no. All right. So next one,
Mhm.
having to judge a show or finding out later that your show was subject to being scouted.
Oh shit. See, there we go. Um, okay, I think it would be finding out after that my show was scouted. Um, as long as it wasn't before, I will say a fun story. I found out after a show that my therapist had been at my show,
Oh
and
yeah.
that was, yeah, it was good that I found out afterwards because I think if I had known beforehand, it would have been hard because I had some inappropriate humor in there that,
Yeah.
my therapist probably it wasn't in her professional lingo, some of the stuff that I was putting out there. Um so yeah, I'd rather know afterwards, but if I know afterwards that someone was there scouting, then that's fine. The um the having to judge people, I have a hard time judging people. I That's why I haven't gone like the coaching route or
Yeah.
teaching route because um I just think everyone does a great job. I have a really hard time critiquing people, just because I do know there's so many different types of humor. So yeah,
Yeah. When I was younger, one of my favorite comedians was Christopher Titus, and
oh
uh, like one of the shows that he had, I can't remember what it was called, but it opened, and this is to me is like why the your show scouted and not knowing who's in the audience, but also how comedians can be raw and use their personal experience. And it just made me think about it when you said that your therapist was there, or like you had like that scenario. His opening line was, they wanted me to do a another comedy show, and I didn't have any material, and then God blessed me with a divorce. And it was just like, it just hit so
yeah,
hard. And I was like, oh my God. And I like, you knew you were in for a ride from that point forward. And like,
oh
I
hell
just,
yeah, it's a perfect
it
way
just
to
makes me,
start.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
No, you're good. It just makes me, it just was like perfect. And I was like, I love that.
yeah,
And this is going to be funny. And a lot of the jokes at the beginning were like very relationship heavy. And I
yeah,
just thought it was like, to be able to like rub on that, but also
mhm,
like make humor of it is a
yeah,
special talent that I don't know that I have. So I appreciate other people that do. So yeah. All right.
yeah.
Our
I gotta say, when
our
you're going
last
up
one.
through some like fucked up things in life, that you get the best comedy. It sucks, but it's true. Like
Yeah.
you have hard times, you get great comedy.
That's kind of how I look at it. I just don't know if I'd be able to tell the jokes. Our
Yeah.
last one, and this one is like, I'm super curious as to like how you picture it in your head, I guess. But
Okay.
you become like Karate Kid style, some old like crotchety comedian is like, you're doing it wrong, and then takes you under their wing and does all the, Mr. Miyagi stuff to try and help you out. Or a person you've looked up to gives you one piece of advice. Which one are you picking?
Oh shit. Um, I don't know. I gotta say, oh, that's a good question.
That's why we saved it for
I
last.
I've had I've had some crotchety old men try and take me under their wing, and to be honest, sometimes I have trouble learning from old men who have very distinct sense of humor. I will say, I've learned a lot from a lot of people in improv, and sometimes that one piece of advice is what you need. I've had that with roller derby as well. It's like people can give me a whole lecture that's like a whole month-long class, you know? But sometimes it's like that one thing that just sticks with you. And so I'm almost I do like the idea of Karate Kid though, like an intense training regimen for comedy. I'm sure you're wondering how that would look in the comedy world. And yeah, it would be a lot less cool, I'll say that. It would be more just, I don't know, not as fun, I don't think.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
which one are you picking?
I think I'm choosing the like one piece of advice from someone in
Oh,
the comedy world.
one piece of advice. All right.
Yeah,
So with that, we're wrapping up. I want to thank you again for being here.
of course.
Boss Babe, and
Hell yeah.
all of its accoutrements. You
Thank you.
you
It's an honor.
definitely embody you definitely embody that. And like I said, one of the things that I truly enjoy about you, and you probably don't know me that well, but I'm a very observer centric person. So like watching you do what you do when you were playing, and just seeing how the energy that you just have about you is always so welcoming and so like positive. It's hard not to like just sit back and be like, man, I like that one. That one's good. That one's a good
Aw,
one.
thank
And
you.
I just wanted to make sure I said that. So we'll link all of the things that you mentioned in the show notes, so I don't have to ask you where to find everything. What I will end with is, if you could tell yourself one piece of advice as an improv aficionado, I guess is what I'm going to call you for the moment. And it has to be done in a way that like you would laugh at, but also hear. What advice would you give yourself?
I would look at myself really close and I would say, bitch, get out of your fucking head. That's what I would say.
I love it. Perfect. There you go. So you out there, get out of your head. Do
Get
the
out of your
things.
head. We're in our
Yeah.
head too much and it definitely affects us.
So with that, bye.
Mhm. Bye.
The bell is about to ring. If you want to drop us a voice message or simply ask a question, you can do that by clicking the link in the show notes below. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review. It helps more people find us. Theme music by Kinsey. More music available on Spotify. Remember, every day is a class. Go learn something.